All right, so good news for Palestine. Here, let me just move that a little so my head isn't cut off. So, good news for Palestine. Three more countries have recognized it. So, let's just get right to the article. The leaders of Ireland, Spain, and Norway announced their countries will formally recognize Palestinian statehood in the coming days, with other member states in the European Union expected to follow their lead soon. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz said he would recall the country's ambassadors from three countries for consultations. Ireland has long supported the Palestinian cause on the global stage, and political leaders there have been particularly vocal since the start of the current conflict in Gaza. Simon Harris, the Irish Prime Minister, or Taoiseach, said that Wednesday was a historic and important day for Ireland and for Palestine, and said he was confident that further countries will join us in taking this important step in the coming weeks. In Norway, Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre insisted that without the recognition of Palestinian statehood, there cannot be peace in the Middle East. It's been more than 30 years since a major peace agreement, theoretically paving the way for the Israelis and Palestinians to live side by side in two separate states, was signed in Oslo, the Norwegian capital, in 1993. Since then, Støre said in a press conference Wednesday morning, the Palestinians have taken important steps toward a two-state solution. Støre also said the Hamas attack on October 7th in Israel had not been carried out by supporters of that two-state solution, but that Palestine has a fundamental right to an independent state. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has long signaled his own announcement that finally came Wednesday. He has progressively become more vocal in his criticism of Israel's response to the October 7th attacks, in which Hamas-led militants killed more than 1,200 people and took some 240 hostages. Israeli forces have killed more than 36,000 Palestinians in Gaza in the war since. On a November visit to Israel, Sanchez told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that Israel must respect international law and end what he called a humanitarian catastrophe in the Gaza Strip. This was a rare position at the European level and marked the departure of Sanchez's vocal social democratic government from the main European Union line of support for Israel. The tension between the two countries resulted in Israel recalling its ambassador from Spain in December and reprimanded the Spanish ambassador in Israel. Sanchez, meanwhile, toured Europe to try to enlist other countries to recognize Palestine as an independent state, which in part led to today's simultaneous announcement. Sanchez said his government rejected what he termed the massacre in Gaza and the rest of the Palestinian territories, and reiterated its demands for a ceasefire and the implementation of the two-state solution as part of what he termed concrete action. Prime Minister Netanyahu is still turning a blind eye and bombing hospitals, schools, and homes, Sanchez said. He is still using hunger, cold, and terror to punish more than 1 million innocent boys and girls, and things have gone so far that prosecutors at the International Criminal Court have this week sought his arrest for war crimes. But Israel doesn't recognize the International Criminal Court, nor does the United States. But that is going to hamper his ability to move. Palestinians and several human rights organizations have long argued that such unilateral recognitions, while largely political and symbolic, does serve as a step for the securing of greater rights for Palestinians, as well as broadening the legal options for accountability of Israeli actions. Critics say that this recognition offers cover for countries to avoid taking more tangible action. How? How is that cover for anything? They've recognized Palestine. They think that both are being dickheads. They should stop attacking each other. What cover are we talking about here? What tangible action have they not been doing? Is what I'd like to know. Well, let me just continue. Maybe it'll get into it. Kotz wrote on social media that by recalling its ambassadors, he was sending a clear and unequivocal message, and that Israel will not remain silent in the face of those undermining its sovereignty and endangering its security. Okay, how is recognizing that Palestine exists doing that? Nobody is saying that Israel is a part of Palestine. Literally nobody who is recognizing Palestine is saying that. So how is this undermining its sovereignty? And how does that endanger security? We still recognize Russia. It's endangering its neighbors. So recognition of a country and the country being run by dicks, not the same thing. So again, how is it doing any of that? Kotz argued that the decision by Spain, Ireland, and Norway sent a message that terrorism pays. No, it fucking does not. And that the 3 European nations were rewarding Hamas and Iran despite the massacre last October. No, again, no. I mean, I just don't see how, especially since many countries recognized Palestine even before October 7th. This is not about, and even if they recognize Palestine, that doesn't mean that they say, oh yeah, we recognize Palestine because we totally agree with everything the government does. Dude, they recognize you as a separate country. Nobody is saying, well, we're rescinding our recognition because you're a dick. Nobody's doing that. So how is recognizing Palestine the same as saying that Hamas is awesome? It's not. Alright, where was I? The last European country to recognize the state of Palestine was Sweden in 2014. So long before October 7th. So again, this has nothing to do with Hamas. But other members of the EU in Central and Eastern Europe have already done so before joining the bloc, including Bulgaria, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Poland, and Romania. So, let me bring up another article about that because there was more to this. Oh, where's my history? Because there's more to it. I started with the NPR article because they actually do the diacritical marks on the names. So even though I'm not sure how to pronounce an O with a diagonal line through it, NPR at least does that. Reuters, for some reason, did not. Okay, what happened here? Where is the article? Alright. So, let's see what there's new in here. Okay, so Pedro Sanchez also said, we hope that our recognition and our reasons contribute to other Western countries following this path, because the more we are, the more strength we will have to impose a ceasefire. to achieve the release of the hostages held by Hamas, to relaunch the political process that can lead to a peace agreement. See, this has nothing to do with we're siding with Hamas. This is, we want you both to stop being children. I mean, seriously, this has been like, ever since Israel was founded. First off, we have Palestinians who are in refugee camps still from the creation of Israel. Then Hamas attacks Israel for that. Well, Palestinians attacked, I'm not sure if it was Hamas or it was the Palestinian Authority. And then so Israel responds. Then it keeps going back and forth, and it's never going to end unless somebody says enough. I mean, and let's face it, Netanyahu is leveling the country. He's leveling Gaza because he is a racist fuck. And let's just be clear about that. He does not care about Palestinians. That's why he's pretending by let's throw leaflets and telling people to move. But even then, they're still in danger. So, no. Let's see. So, Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre said that the only possible political solution between Israelis and Palestinians was two states living side by side in peace and security, which at the moment neither government actually wants. Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eide said he did not expect the recognition to stop the war in Gaza, but it was a key component for an Arab-led peace initiative. Let's see. Ireland's Prime Minister Simon Harris told a Dublin news conference that Ireland remained unequivocal in recognizing Israel's right to exist securely and in peace with its neighbors, and called for all hostages in Gaza to be freed. So again, I'm not seeing where this foreign minister is saying, oh, you guys just want to undermine our security. How? By seeing that both of you are being dicks? Israel for leveling Gaza and doing illegal settlements, and Hamas for taking hostages in the first place and still keeping them. I mean, how is this picking one side over the other? It's not. And it gets better. The decision infuriated Israel. Yeah, we know that. Let's see. So, Kott said the decision would carry severe consequences. I can't wait to find out what those consequences are supposed to be. Let's see. The decision was welcomed by the Palestinian Authority, which exercises limited self-rule in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, and by Hamas, which has ruled the Gaza Strip since driving the PA out of the enclave in 2007. Now just think about that. The Palestinian Authority is happy that Palestine is being recognized, even though Gaza is being currently ruled by a group that undemocratically kicked them out. I mean, if that doesn't tell you that they just want a state. Now, granted, for a while there, the Palestinian Authority were not exactly choir boys. But at the same time, at the moment, they're not doing anything terroristy, and it's been a while since they've done that. So, yes, this is about recognizing Palestine's right to exist. You know, the thing that you keep pounding your chest that you want the world to recognize Israel and its right to exist, but you seem to ignore that Palestine should have a right to exist. But given the current government, not surprised. Around 144 of the 193 member states of the United Nations recognize Palestine as a state, including most of the global south, Russia, China, and India. But only a handful of the 27 EU members have done so, mostly former communist countries as well as Sweden and Cyprus. Britain and Australia and EU members Malta and Slovenia have indicated in recent months that they could follow suit. So yeah, more and more people are recognizing Palestine, and the more you can recognize a country, the better the chance that you can have an influence over how, what the government is. Things like, I don't know, Hamas actually having elections and possibly making sure that they're not rigged elections so Hamas can never leave. Things like that. So, this is the part I was looking for. Norway was the host of the Oslo peace process. Okay, that part we talked about. Intended to lead to a Palestinian state on territory captured by Israel in the 1967 war, including the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem, but the last negotiations collapsed a decade ago. Israel's right-wing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected a sovereign Palestinian state, despite the so-called two-state solution remaining the policy objective of Israel's closest ally, the United States. Washington, however, opposes recognizing Palestine without an agreement reached at negotiations. You want an agreement reached with a country that openly said they do not want a two-state solution. How do you square that circle? Seriously, how does that work? The only way Israel, under this current government, the only way Israel is going to recognize Palestine if it's forced to. I do not see how diplomacy is going to get us through this. It's going to be, Israel's going to try to move away from the countries that have recognized Palestine, and the more countries that do so, the more isolated Israel's going to get. That is the only way, kind of like how we got rid of apartheid in South Africa. We just made them a pariah. And that was the only way that change actually occurred. So, I don't know what is so special about Israel that you think that we shouldn't be doing that. Okay. President Biden is a strong supporter of a two-state solution and has been throughout his career. And yet, he's an apologist for BB sometimes. A spokesperson for the White House National Security Council said, he believes a Palestinian state should be realized through direct negotiations between the parties, not through unilateral recognition. Again, you're dealing with a government that doesn't want a two-state solution. This negotiation tactic would have been fine if both parties were actually interested. But they've shown that they're not. They have shown that they are not. Now, for those who argue that Hamas wants to make Israel part of Palestine, that's an entirely different matter. And nobody is saying that because Palestine is recognized, that means that they can take over Israel. Nobody's saying that, except for Hamas. That's just not the way it works. Germany said it was a matter that required further dialogue, while France said conditions have not yet been met. I don't know what those conditions are, probably to dropkick Hamas as your government, which works. Or it could be that they want a unified government for the West Bank and Gaza. I don't know what conditions they're referring to. But yeah, those, if there are certain conditions that need to be met, that's fair. I just wish I knew what the conditions were. Last month, Washington vetoed recognizing Palestine as a state at the United Nations, where the Palestinians now have observer status. The move by the 3 European countries was the latest example of Israel's increasing international isolation, both over the civilian casualties resulting from its tactics in the Gaza war, as well as its over long-standing policies such as building Jewish settlements in occupied Palestinian territories. Exactly. Actually, this government is encouraging it. They don't want a two-state solution because they want all of that land to belong to Israel. And how can you negotiate with a government that wants that? They want to gobble up Palestine as a part of Israel. They don't want to recognize Palestinians as, humans, that they all are terrorists or something. I really don't know, because they have no problem leveling the country. And yes, they have attacked the West Bank. Not to the extent that they've attacked Gaza, but they've also attacked the West Bank. Jan Egeland, who was part of the Norwegian diplomatic team that helped broker the Oslo Peace Accords in the 1990s, said the announcement by the European trio, though symbolic, was a message to Israel that the occupation of Palestinian territories had to end. Alon Liel, a former Director General of Israel's Foreign Ministry and a critic of Netanyahu's government, told Reuters by phone from Tel Aviv that the move by Spain, Ireland, and Norway could have an important impact on Israeli public opinion. Equalizing the status of Israel and Palestine in the international sphere was a nightmare for the current Israeli leadership, he said. The 3 European countries' actions represented the start of the recognition by the countries that Israel cares about, that are a role model for Israel. Israel launched its war in Gaza in retaliation for an October 7th assault by Hamas, in which fighters killed 1,200 people and took more than 250 hostages by Israeli tallies. Israel's operations in the enclave had killed more than 35,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry. Spain and its allies have spent months lobbying European nations, including France, Portugal, Belgium, and Slovenia, to garner support for the recognition of a Palestinian state. Yolanda Diaz, Spain's prime minister and leader of the government's far-left junior coalition partner, said she expected the recognition to be an important first step to more concrete action, such as pushing the EU to review the arms trade and support investigations into alleged Israeli war crimes. Which, I don't see what's wrong with that. I really don't. Just because one is a state and the other isn't, why should they be able to bully? Protect themselves from an attack, absolutely. But they want to destroy Hamas. And my question is, how do you destroy an idea? Because all you are doing by destroying everybody's homes and killing their family is those who survive are just going to hate Israel. And so they're probably going to be more likely to support someone like Hamas. So how exactly are you destroying Hamas again? You're not. You're actually making the problem worse. And all Bibi cares about is that he wants to claim Palestine for himself. He wants to get rid of the Palestinians, and maybe somewhere deep down he actually wants more Hamas recruits, so this can go on in perpetuity, so Israel can claim, oh, woe is me, we're victims, even though there are Arab countries who came to their defense when Iran launched missiles. But apparently Israel doesn't want to talk about that. Well, neither do the Arab states, but that's a different story. So, yeah, I just don't, I can only see this as a good thing, because Israel just does not want to be held to account for their actions. They want Hamas to be held accountable, but they don't want to be held accountable for their actions. And that's just wrong. Yes, what Hamas is doing is horrible and they should pay for it. But you're not exactly, this perfect country that nobody can criticize. I mean, I just don't know where you're getting this idea that Israel can't be criticized ever for anything that they do, no matter how horrible. I just don't get where that's coming from. Yes, I know it's probably religion, but Bibi's not religious, so there's that. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough in this video, so with that, I will see you guys in the next video.